Hey, listeners, and welcome back to the Review for Few podcast. I'm your host, Avi, and joining me today is my multiple personalities. That was really bad, but who cares? Today, I'm discussing the 1619 project. Yep, got the name right. Learned my lesson in last week's episode. It's from the mind of Nicole Hannah Jones, and completely irrelevant but relevant. But if you look up this beautiful lady, she has this like very nice vibrant red hair, and in the docu-series that's her hair color as well, and it's just so mesmerizing. I personally have never really wanted red hair, but looking at her red hair makes me want red hair. It's just, I just had to throw it out there. I feel like people should really look her up and just be mesmerized. Like, that is just, oh, that shade of red that she rocks is just so beautiful. But anyways, today's topic of the day isn't a topic, but facts on Black history. I got some good ones, trust. Right? Thurgood Marshall became the first African American to serve in the U.S. Supreme Court. He was nominated by President Lyndon B. Johnson in 1967, where he would serve as a justice until 1991. Anthony Benedict, a white Quaker, abolitionist, and educator, he is credited as creating the first public school for African American children in the early 1700s. If I could see this man, I would say, F you. Public school kind of sucked. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Anyways, Nat King Cole was the first Black American to host a TV show. His TV show, The Nat King Cole Show, from 1956 to 1957. It was short-lived, but still monumental, especially in the 1950s. So I love Nat King Cole. Who doesn't like, the Christmas song? Come on now. Hattie McDaniel became the first Black person to win an Oscar in 1940 for her supporting role in Gone with the Wind. 24 years later, Sidney Poitier became the first Black man to win an Oscar for his leading role in Lilies of the Field. Like, come on now. Come on, shine through. Speaking of just Black excellence at awards, I didn't watch the Grammys, but I saw like snippets of it here and there on social media. And there was like a comment like, this has to be the blackest Grammy ever. They honored hip hop. Quavo took the stage since Takeoff Steph, and they honored it. And it's like, y'all right. This was a really Black Grammys, and it can't be a Black Grammy without an argument. And that's when I saw like Quavo and Offset got into it, and I'm like, damn. And you just hear Cardi over here yelling like she got some badass kids in the background. I was like, oh my God. But she cleared it. She stepped out and she was like, the only thing I'm getting together is my outfit. And it's like, okay, dodging the question, but okay. Freaking, there was somebody else. Beyonce made history winning her 32nd Grammy. 32nd? Is that how you say it? 32. She has 32 Grammys. I don't know why I'm saying 32nd. But she has 32 Grammys now. And it was just like so mesmerizing. I don't know about y'all, but every time like Beyonce talks, like I forget that she actually talks. Because, she don't do interviews. She don't be talking to us like she used to do. The most talking we ever got in recent years had to be Homecoming, which still to this day I will rewatch every Coachella season because I just Beachella, like, stop playing with it. It's so monumental. Not really Black. What's the word? Not really Black. Whatever, but Bad Bunny won like a Grammy as well, and like he opened the Grammys, and so many people are like, oh my God, you have a Latin artist opening the award show for one of the biggest music award shows in the industry. And I just feel like 2023 is the year of just like, yeah, like us minorities are just like stepping up, and we're just going to be like out there. So I found that very, very interesting. I don't hate Bad Bunny. Just want to say that for the record. I do listen to his music, but I don't obsess over him. But I don't have an issue, and I'm not going to criticize those who do obsess over him. Because just like the girls that used to obsess over Justin Bieber, they're going to go eventually. And you're going to learn to be like, I don't know why I was just so crazy over it. You're not going to hate yourself, but you're just going to be like, oh my God, that's so embarrassing. Anyways, so the docuseries that I watched, and can I just say that this docuseries, like obviously going into this, I knew they were going to talk about Black history and whatnot, but the things that I learned in the first episode alone, there's 4 episodes out. Third and fourth episode just dropped back on Sunday, but it's such a good show. If you just want, like if you put this on for like background noise, trust you finna be just stuck with your broom or your mop watching it because it's really I liked it. Episode 1 of the 1619 Project talked about democracy. That was the title of that one. And kind of like I mentioned in last week's episode, Nicole started off by talking about her dad who served in the army. And he was very proud to have served his country. He had the flag on his lawn like an American dad. And that flag would just blow in the wind. And as a young child, she never understood, like, why are you so happy about this country that has, like, they dragged you here, they stripped you, your ancestors, bad stuff. And she was sitting there talking with her uncles, and she was just like, what did he say? He was like, he was proud because he's part of that history. It's like, you can't talk about the army without talking about them other races. It's not just about white people. And I felt that, and I was just like, because I agreed with her, like, why would you want to be so patriotic for your country? And I feel like a couple of weeks ago, that's how I was growing up a little bit. And I think, if you serve in the, not the army, but if you just serve in the armed forces in general, you should be somewhat proud because for the people like Black people, Latino people, Asian people, Native Americans, it's a very small percentage of Americans or people who just live in America, because not you don't have to be a U.S. citizen to serve in the armed forces, in case you didn't know that. You just have to have a green card. They it's a very small number. So I feel like when you like think about it, it's like you could say, man, I hate this, but it's like, remember, you represent a small portion of people who like did the damn thing. So it's like, you take pride in it. I think I've done pretty well hiding on the podcast that I'm in the military, and the military helped me get a lot of stuff, but I'm not gonna go skipping down Jolly Lane like, yeah, la la, the military, yeah. No, I'm good. I'm not yelling it for the masses. I'll keep it to myself because there are some like just things about it, but that's not the point of this episode. But when she talked about, that's when I knew I had to watch the show, because I'm like, girl, you're already clicking with me. Like, I like what you're saying. Why be patriotic? Why be proud of this country that did Black people so wrong? And then she goes into talking about like the history that we're taught is not the real history, because Black people did contribute to American history. It's not Black history. It is American history, and Black people are part of American history. I didn't know that Black people were here before the Mayflower. The thing, it's called the 1619 Project, but Africans, my bad, were here in like the 1500s. So it's like, well, damn, I didn't know that. Like, I knew slavery went on for 400 years, but like, damn, you literally built it. And like, if you didn't know the saying, Black and brown people built the White House, and I was like, that's, you're teaching me. And it's like, the fun thing about doing this show is that, yes, I watch shows and movies for my enjoyment, and to also just talk about it, whether it's by myself or with people. I'm still putting it out there, and I still get people thinking, because like, it makes me think. And I know there's people out there that's like, like, why this, why that? Like, you're just asking these questions. Fool, I'm here. I'm questions. Like, I'm the same way. But I really like it. And she really harps on, like, Black people, African Americans played a huge role in American history. And, honestly, we should be proud to tell our story. Like, yeah, you dragged here on bolts and all that stuff, but it's like, you should still be proud to tell your story because you overcame that. Not to like get really like sensitive, but like, people who are victim in crimes of sexual assault, domestic violence, or anything like that, they eventually tell their story. And one thing is like, the more you talk about it, the more you normalize talking about it. Like, you are not a victim, because most victims are dead. That's how I see victims. People like, oh, you're a victim of so-and-so and this and that. No, you're not a victim, because you're sitting here living and breathing and talking to people. Like, you're breathing the same oxygen as I am and putting out the same carbon dioxide as me. Like, you are human. You are not a victim. You overcame that. You know what I mean? So I think it's really nice the way she starts off the episode and the way she tells the story. And I love it. And the 1619 Project, they want to teach it in schools, but a lot of politicians on the right and left side don't want it to be taught in schools. There was one part where they're showing like a newscast where it's like teachers in Illinois want teachers to wear body cameras so they can see what they're educating them. First of all, you gonna see how them kids be treating them teacher, okay? As a person who used to be mean to teachers in school, you don't want to see what kids do to teachers, let alone what they teaching them, because some of these teachers honestly and truly do not care. But it's like people are advocating. I think they said there's like 33 laws and like one federal bill in the works to get this ban from being taught in education. And it's like, why? What are you guys scared of? You're scared of the truth. And they show some of the politicians. Of course, they show Donald Trump. When aren't people talking about Donald Trump and how they just don't want it? And I wish growing up this was taught. I think I said it last week that for when it comes to Black history, when it comes to learning about history in general in school, they only teach you about other races and other species during that month. And even for the month of February in school, I was educated by Florida Public Schools in Broward County. They didn't do like a really good job. And you would think growing up in a predominantly low income neighborhood, well, not predominantly low income, but growing up around Blacks and Hispanics and just people of middle class, that they would try to harp on it more. And a lot of my teachers were Black, Hispanic, Asian. I didn't have a lot of white teachers, basically. I probably had like maybe 4 all the way from kindergarten to 12th grade, maybe 4. And that speaks volumes. And I just find that really fascinating because a lot of people don't. I had 2 teachers and they were Black. And when it came to talking about Black issues and things like that, of history or literature or anything like that, they definitely spoke more on it. And I'm very appreciative of that because, like, not a lot of people are like that. Some people are scared. It's like, oh, I don't want to fight back. I don't want to do this. And I think, they're scared. And I feel like that's why the 1619 Project definitely should be taught in school. And, if you don't want your kids to learn the real American history, I'm sorry, your ass need to get out of America, because the history that's being taught in school is not American history. And if I could, like, sign my name to, like, yes, the 1619 Project should be taught in school, I would sign my name down. I would love it if my kids, my future kids, future nieces and nephews, my younger cousins, if they were taught this. I know that my cousins are being taught the same burukaka education that I was. Maybe like a oomph better, but it's still burukaka. And what is that? Then they be, why are these young people like this? They don't know anything. Well, y'all ain't teach us nothing. Y'all the problem. People are so quick to be like, these younger generations this, these younger generations that. Yes, every generation's different, but what did you teach them? How did you try to better from that generation to the next? That's what people need to look at. And I definitely think the 1619 Project should be in schools, and the impact that it will have, my God. Let's debate it. Let's talk about it. Like, come on now. Like, kids deserve a voice. There's the Whitney Houston song. I don't know why, but my Alexa always plays it. And, it's like, I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. And it goes on. You can look up the lyrics. It's called The Greatest Love. And you can look at the lyrics, and it's like, those lyrics ring true. It's like the children are our greatest future, and yet we're denying them. Not only are we denying children yet to come, but the children now, and we denied ourselves this education that we could have been taught. And, it's really terrible. And the first episode really set it off, and I really like it, But I'm not going to beat a dead bush. I'm not going to shit on the education I was given. I'm in college, so obviously I was taught something. I wanted to better myself and learn more. Do I have to take a history class? I hope not. I don't understand why I'm taking a math class. I don't understand why I'm taking a psychology class when my degree is for graphic design. But Lord and behold, here I am because it's part of my college plan. I probably have to look at that and see if I have to take a history class. But anyways, you have to... thing I learned from the first episode, and I think I'm really good at doing it, especially now having this podcast, is you kind of have to go out there and seek, the education that wasn't taught, the knowledge that people withheld. You kind of have to go out there and, fight for it and be like, well, not be like, please tell me, like, oh my God, but you have to want to better yourself. You can't sit around and be like, well, nobody ever taught us this, so how am I supposed to? No, okay, so nobody ever taught me this. Let me go look it up. Let me go find some research. I know whether you're in school or not, it's like, well, what's the point? The point is having a better understanding of life and society as a whole. Society has definitely gotten weakened over the years. And I know I'm only 21. It's like, well, what do you know? I know life when I was 11, like how I view the world and how I view the world now at 21. Yes, I was a child then and I'm a young adult now, but it's so different. No offense, but many people are, open, expressing their sexuality to the point where people are like, I'm a cat, I'm a horse. I, I you, society is being weakened, and we have to do a better job of that, or else these hooligans are finna run amok. Okay. Anyways, the second episode of the 1619 Project talked about race. And this episode really stood out to me. And maybe it's because she was really one of the segments happened to talk about a black mom. And she wasn't low income. She was like, fairly good. Her husband was a police officer, and she was basically ignored for the health care that she needed. And I found out like that was really wild. Another story was like of a couple. This guy, please don't come for me, but he was like from some African country, and his girl I think was from like India or something like that, and they just didn't understand why in America race is such a huge thing. And it's like, oh my God, race is a huge thing in America. It's kind of like, not to shine light on them, but like Meghan Markle, like, oh my God, in England, America's worse. But well, let me not say America's worse, but I think there are levels to it in different countries. There's different histories there, but there's one thing I could tell you is that every single country history ties into each other, but we don't, we're not going to get into that. But the second episode really dived into how the U.S. is really the only country, or at least the most heavily opinionated one, where race is a huge issue, and that people make an epiphany out of whether you're black, white, Asian, or Latino. And I never realized that. Like when you check the box, it's like black. It's like it says black or African American, white. Like it bothers me. I don't know why, but it bothers me that Latinos are labeled as white in their demographics, because it's like, I'm, it's just weird. You have like, I think it's like Native American / something. It's like, oh yeah, like America, like that drop down box really just stun you sometimes. It just be stunning you. And like I said, it talked about healthcare. And just to give like a little summary on the story, this lady, she's from Brooklyn, New York, and she already had one son, and she got pregnant, and hey, it's twins. And as anybody knows, twins are automatically high risk pregnancy. And the OB that she had for her last pregnancy did not deal with multiple pregnancies, so she had to find another doctor, unfortunately. And this doctor, she would complain about, first, let me stop lying. Her checkups were like every 4 weeks. Now, I've never been pregnant. I've had some pregnant friends. I do not ask when their checkup weeks are. But she was like, with twins, you're supposed to be checked like every 2 weeks, something like that. You're supposed to be checked more often than somebody pregnant with one baby. And that didn't happen for her case. And she was complaining about pain one day, and she went to the doctor. She finally, they didn't do anything for her, and she finally was able to find a high-risk doctor. And at 27 weeks pregnant, wow, at 27 weeks pregnant, one of her babies died in the womb. And she had to still carry that child until her water broke. I don't remember when they said how many weeks she was when her water broke, but she had one child that was alive and one child that was dead, literally inside her. Do you know how hard life would be? And it's like, I applaud you, because I would be bawling my eyes out every day. The fact that she was even brave enough to tell her story on such a huge platform, it was just like, wow, that's very, very deep. And I was like, that's very sad. And she named him, and she said when her son turned 1, it was like a milestone, like, oh, he made it a year because he was in the NICU for the first 2 months of his life, which is very sad. I've had a preemie sister. It's not fun. And it was really sad. And she was like, she was honoring the life of one son, but still, she was, well, let me say it like this. She was honoring the life of the son that was still alive and also honoring the life of the son that she never really got to fully meet. And she was like, when she did give birth, people were like the chaplain was like, you have to bury your child. You have to bury your child. Like telling this lady who just gave birth to one dead child and one live child, and her child's in the NICU fighting for his life. He was so small, guys. It's not even funny. And they're over here blasting her, talking about, you have to bury your child. Your child's dead. You have to bury her. You have to bury her. I'd have lost my mind. I don't know what a woman's mind goes through after she has a kid, when she's pregnant, with child, after child. But I know what it's like before child. And I know who I am. And I know I'll be very heartbroken and very sad. And I was like, that's uncalled for. Like, why is that a huge deal? And then another story that happened in episode 2 was like a couple, they wanted to get married. I don't know what northern state they were in, but they were in some northern state. Stop doing that. They were in some northern state. And they eventually moved on to Miami. And the reason they never got married in the northern states because they had to choose a race, and they wouldn't allow them to not choose a race. And in my head, I'm like, what's the big issue? You have to choose a race. Like, who cares? Like, oh my God. Like, and that's my American mindset mind. Because they eventually moved down to Miami, Florida, and the clerk's office was able to give them a marriage license without specifying their race. And it's like, these individuals are immigrants to America. They do not understand why it's such a huge deal to put race. Why is it such a huge deal to put, yes, this is what I am? Like, no. And I was like, I did not look at it like that. But they still got married. But it was like, wow, that's crazy. And, of course, they talked about, interracial marriages. And it's so crazy. I can't remember it, even though for debate class, I literally did a whole essay on it. The Supreme Court ruling for gay marriages, and also the one for interracial marriages. That's Loving v. Virginia, but I can't. It's Obergefell v. Hodges. That's what it's called. Obergefell v. Hodges is for gay marriage, and then Loving v. Virginia for interracial marriage. And it shined a light on that, and it's like, these are stepping stones, and it just wow. Without these, it's like, why can't I marry this man? Because he's not the same skin tone as me. I can't. Like, who are you to tell me what I can and can't do? Hi, I'm the American government. This is not an attack on the American government, by the way, but it's like that was life back then, and it's very alarming. Not to keep jumping back and forth from topic to topic, but going back to the healthcare, they were discussing how in America they're just failing Black women. The percentage of injustice treatment for Black women was at 22.5%. And for white women, it was at like 14%. And I said, wow, that's a significant difference. And I was like, I didn't know that. And I've always heard stories. You always see things. I know in shows like 911, Station 19. I've never watched Grey's Anatomy, but I'm pretty sure Grey's Anatomy's done an episode where, they fail to, provide the necessary support to somebody of a lower class or of a different race. And I was very thrown off by it. It was very uncomfortable because it's like, well, damn. I'm happy my mom was able to give birth to me and my brother and all my loving aunts. Like, that's very, very crazy. And the percentages they gave are very alarming. There was so many percentages I can't keep up. I'm not good at math. I need to be doing my math homework this week. It's due Friday. And there was one thing. She was interviewing this lady, and the lady said if they were to say this X amount of percentage of white babies are dying because of failure to treat the mom or them, it would be national news. However, that's the number for Black and brown babies, and it's not national news. And it's like, that is a huge issue across the board. And, I found it very, very crazy. One thing I found even more just like, this existed? was a legislation was signed back in the olden days that if a white man was to have intercourse with a black woman and she ended up pregnant, that kid is black because their mom is black. And the lady had said they made it seem like it was a curse to be black. Like your mother is the reason you will suffer for the rest of your life because they're going to judge you based off the color of your skin. And I've said this many times before, the US back then made up a lot of names. Like Hispanic was made up by the US. That's why I try to say Latinos because it's like, well, why? They did that so that the US is obsessed with the census and obsessed with putting people in categories. And, things like mulatto, octoroon, like the rapper Lotto, she changed her name because people found it very offensive, even though she is a baby of yeah. So she just went with Lotto. But they had mulatto, octoroon, quadroon, and it was like, how many percentage of black are you? And it's like, bruh, are you serious? Y'all would not have this issue if a black person was to walk around and be like, I'm 1/8 Irish. You're black. That's all you're gonna say. Oh, I'm 1/4 black. I'm 1/4 black, but I'm Italian. No. You're black. And it's like, oh, what? You're Italian. Like, come on now. Like, if you're gonna do that, it's just the logic behind it is non-existent. It's non-existent. And I was just like, that is, crazy. A lot of individuals who immigrate to America don't really understand why this country is so obsessed with race and defining what are you? What do you identify? You can only identify these 5 things and that's it. Nothing else. If you identify something else, you are other. You are other. And it's like, oh my God, be fucking for real. Like, are you serious? And I just find it crazy. And it's like, why is America obsessed with defining race? Because America was built on race. Hello? Have you been keeping up? America was founded on race. It was built on race. Like, let's look at that. I pray that all the babies of any race can be brought into this world healthy and safety, no matter any biased conditions of them or their mothers. This doesn't make me want to become an advocate and start marching and whatnot, but it makes you be like, wow, this is what goes on in this country that's built on freedom, even though they were whipping people like it was crazy, built on freedom, but they stole land, stole people. It's like, how we need to address that. Like, you might be ashamed of it, but you need to address it, and you need to talk about how you looked into yourself and overcame it, something like that. But they like telling this story of Christopher Columbus, George Washington. It's like, let's talk about George Washington Carver. Let's talk about somebody else. Let's actually talk about somebody. Like, every year you talk about this, and that. And it's like, I'm sorry, but I don't have the time, energy, patience, mentally, emotionally, physically, logically to care. Like, we need to talk about the real stuff. And that's why I really like this show. And I already started watching the 3rd episode, and I really like it. So I hope you guys kind of find something like interesting about this. And oh my God, that scared me. Oh my God. I looked at my audio file and I thought it completely stopped recording. I was about to cause a storm. I was about to be like, you know what? Episode postponed. I was about to be so mad. That's so terrible. But today was a short episode. Your girl has some migraine she's working through. So I'm sitting in the dark because I can't with the lights. My computer is very dim. And yeah, next week we're wrapping up the 1619 project with episodes 3 and 4. If I had to say something about the 1619 project is that, looking at it, I was like, what is this? What is this? Black History Month, and y'all are coming out with something. And it is true. This year, it's like, why is Black History Month so much more relevant this year? I've never seen people make such a big deal about Black History Month. You have all these jokes about reparations and, their lighter skinned co-workers and peers carrying them around. And it's like, it's cute to make a joke. Do you know the history? Do you? Okay, then. You're walking around oblivious in society as illusion. And that's what they want. And you're giving into it. Like, come on now, guys. We have to do better when it comes to anything. And by the way, I just want to say that if you don't know the month that like your culture is represented, that's a huge issue. Like Hispanic Heritage Month is in October. It's from September 15th to October 15th, which is weird, but it's in October. And a lot of people didn't know that, so I'm calling you out because yeah. Yeah. I think Asian Pacific Heritage Month is in May. Yeah, it's in May. It's from May 1st to May 31st. Like, I'm sorry, but you guys should know this. It's like, yes, they're like, oh my God, Black History Month. Yes, but you should know your stuff. Asian American and Pacific Islander Month is in May. National Hispanic and Heritage Month, and that's national, okay? Hey. It's celebrated in October, well, September to October. And if you didn't know, March is Women's History Month, like, and then June is LGBTQ plus month. Like, you should know these things. Hello, shine a light on it. And if you don't, you're just as bad as the next person for not knowing stuff that you should know. So, am I judging you? Yes. Picture me looking at you and being like, okay. Like I said, next week we're talking episodes 3 and 4. Episode 3 has got me grooving because it's about music. So I'm kind of like loving it. And it's so crazy because one of the dudes, oh my God, I think his name was like Niles something. But oh my God, what is his name? Niles Rogers. He Nicole interviews him, and it's crazy enough. It's like, I have listened to all this music he produced, but I never really knew who he was. And he spoke how like, bro, I'm going into next week episode, but I have to. He spoke on how like he made this hit song with another Black artist. I can't remember after that. Lay Freak. That was the song in 1978. And after that, he never had a hit again because disco took over the world, and they were very unhappy about, just the black people on the screen and all that stuff. And he didn't really have another hit. And then all of a sudden, when he worked with David Bowie put his name back out there. And he said that once he started working with David Bowie, he always had a hit after that. And he worked with Madonna. He worked with so many other white artists. And I was like, I would not have guessed. And he has produced many things, even currently, even like people like with Pharrell Williams. And it's like, wow, that speaks volumes. Like, you've been around the block, sir. Like, I applaud you. And I bring him up because he accepted an award on behalf of Beyonce when she wasn't there at the Grammys this past weekend. And I'm like, that's that dude from the docuseries I'm watching. That's that dude. And I'm like, it's so crazy how like once you see somebody, you just see them everywhere. And it's like, oh my God. Like, he is responsible for a lot of hits. His name is Nile Rodgers. That's Nile, like the Nile is a river in Egypt. And your husband may or may not be gay. And Rodgers spelled Rodgers. You guys have to look him up. You'd be surprised by all the hits he's made. But that's just a little sneak peek for you for next week's episode. I have some recommendations because Hulululu has a whole section for Black History Month. And the good thing, what I love about Hulululu is that like it could be Black History Month, Women's History Month, Asian Pacific Islander Month, all of those months, and it's going to show you the movies that relate to that. And it's like, thank you for being a friend. Thank you. Hulululu. That's why I have never doubted paying my money on a monthly basis to Hulululu. Now, Netflix, I don't pay for Netflix, so I can't talk crap. But the rest of y'all, Now, Hulululu is my newest bestie as of late, but I harbor feelings for HBO Max. I just want to put that out there. But some great shows that are on Hulululu are Kindred. It's a book. And oddly enough, a podcast I listen to called the Sci-Fi Sci Podcast, hosted by Bet and Amber. If you're on TikTok, then you know who Bet and Amber are, and you should definitely listen to their podcast. If you don't listen to it, I listen to their podcast, but you guys should also watch their YouTube videos. Cause it's like sometimes I'll like listen to an episode in the car and I don't know why, but I'll watch it on YouTube and it's like now it make more sense why Amber B's doing what she doing to Ben. But I love Amber and Ben and Wildisha and Gucci and all the masses. I love them all. But they talked about it in their very, very first episode because I went all the way back to episode 1. Like I started all the way back down listening to it. But it's also a book. It's called Kindred. It tells the story of a young black woman being pulled through time, the 19th century to be exact. So if you wanna intrigue yourself in that, go ahead and hop along to Hulu and click Black History Month and watch Kindred, or read the book, educate yourself, or listen to the book. I listen to the books. I don't read books. I fall asleep. I have books on my bookshelf that I read like the first 5 pages and that's it. They're just collecting dust. You know, it's sad. I know. I really have to better myself. But anyways, Your Attention Please is another docu-series, and it's hosted by Craig Robinson, and it shines a light on black innovators and creators in the modern world. How fantastical, right? You can find all these shows on Hulu, and like I said, my bestie HBO Max. Hey, she got some new movies, guys. I don't know if you've been looking, but HBO Max got some new movies on her, so you might want to check it out. Anyways, as always, thank you guys for tuning in and listening to the Review for Few podcast. I promise you my nasally voice is going to go away, but between the weather, I honestly think I'm getting a little sick. I wake up every morning with my throat crying bloody murder. So I'm trying, guys. I really am trying. Make sure you like and subscribe down below to keep up with the views. And feel free to show some love by commenting as well. As always, I will delete hateful comments. I know I said it in past episodes, you could comment hate, but they will be deleted. I do read the comments. Thank you very much. The very few that I have. Yeah. Just keep that in mind. It's like, oh, this podcast sucks. That will be deleted, Just putting it out there. Happy listening, y'all.